This was supposed to be a video where I showcased the orange paint scheme I made for the Brightline bullet train, but unfortunately I'm experiencing another glitch that's making it impossible to release that train to the download station right now. You see, when I click on the orange locomotive with an orange logo, it changes to the red locomotive with the red logo somehow. But strangely enough, the doors still have the orange logo. And this also only seems to happen on the power cars. It does not happen on the coaches. I don't know what could possibly cause that. I've never heard of a glitch where you put a train on the track and then you click on it and then it changes to a different train. Like, what is going on here? And look, I'm clicking on the other passenger cars and it's not doing that. It's only the power cars that's doing that. So when I click on the Get Object tool, it actually treats it like it is the orange locomotive, so I don't know what's going on here. In case you're wondering, this is a fictional tram I'm working on, which is not finished yet. Okay, I clicked on the locomotive again, and again it changed to the red logo somehow. And it also only does that on the side textures. It does not do that on the front or the roof, only the sides. I don't know why it would do that. In this attempt, I tried exiting out of the game and coming back, and once again, the glitch is still occurring. It also says that the drivers that are assigned to this locomotive aren't assigned to it, so I don't know what's going on there either. Oh, and it says that there are two other drivers that are assigned to the locomotive. What is going on here? Apparently you can move the train, but what I'm trying to figure out now is why are the drivers being kicked out of the train and it adding new drivers to the same train? And also, why is it changing the color of the train whenever I click on it? The game seems to know that this is the orange locomotive, so I don't know why it changes whenever I click on it. The locomotive's names are highlighted in red, which usually happens when that locomotive was removed from the session. Which is weird because they are right here, so I don't know why it thinks that they've been removed. And also, if they were removed, you'd think you'd be able to find them in this drop-down menu, but you can't because they're already selected, so I don't know what that's all about. Now, in the past, I've had issues like this occur when something was removed from the route, but the game still was searching for it, so I deleted the missing assets to see if that fixed the problem. I deleted all of the duplicate drivers and trains from this list, and I'm trying to recreate the list basically. Okay, the front power cars for some reason aren't selectable. Don't know what that's all about, but let's see. Okay, I don't know why it keeps adding them back after I remove them, but let's try removing them again and seeing what happens. Okay, now I'm gonna try to re-add the red power card, the front one. It doesn't seem to want to save the changes. No matter what I do, it reverts back to the way it was before I even did anything. And it's still saying that the trains don't exist even though they're on the route. And it also keeps trying to assign 2 drivers to the same train. I don't know why it keeps doing that. So basically, I'm trying to tell this game, here's train number 1 and here's train number 2. I want you to assign drivers to these trains and I want you to give train number 1 some messages. But the game is basically saying there is no train number 1 or train number 2. But there is a train number 1 and a train number 2, so I'm going to assign 2 drivers to those 2 trains. Okay, but now there are 2 drivers assigned to the same train, train number 1 and train number 2. So now what do I do? I wish I knew the answer to that question as well. Because 2 drivers are assigned to the exact same train, it creates a glitch and it doesn't save the messages that I give the train. But it also doesn't seem to think that the trains exist, but it also thinks that they exist at the exact same time. Okay, here I'm trying once again to delete the missing assets to see if that fixes anything. Alright, let's open that menu again and see what happens. Basically, I'm trying to zero everything and give this train its messages all over again to see what will happen. If it'll actually save the messages. Okay, I'm saving the changes and it didn't save anything. Not only did it not save anything, it removed the messages. Oh, actually, no, it saved the messages, but it still tried to assign 2 drivers to the exact same train. I don't know why it's doing that. And until I figure out what's causing this, it's not going to let the train receive any messages. Right now, I'm going to try to delete the driver setup and re-add it and see what happens. Okay, edit, and let's see. Oh, and then when I save it and edit it again, it still tries to assign 2 drivers to the same train. It looked like it was going to work at first, but then as soon as I reopened it, the same error appeared. Trying one more time just for good measure. Okay, when I edit it for the first time, everything looks fine. Then I save changes and edit it again, and it tried to assign 2 drivers to the same train. I don't know what's going on. This thing is just messed up. And I haven't tested if it's happening on other routes yet, so it could just be a problem with this route. But I would still like to know what's causing it on this route, because it wasn't doing that earlier. And now that I think about it, when was the last time I tested this route? Was it before I updated to Trainz 2022? Okay, now I'm in the route and I'm going to try once again to delete the missing assets and see if that caused anything. First, I'm checking to see if I didn't accidentally add some trains on the route, because that can cause issues like that, where there's a train on the route and in the session, so it's trying to assign a driver to both of those trains, but one of them's missing. I've actually made that mistake in the past, but it looks like there aren't any trains in the route right now. I'm still going to delete missing assets to see what happens. Okay, it's still trying to assign multiple drivers to the same train, so I'm going to try deleting the driver setup rule and re-adding it and seeing what happens. Maybe with the missing assets deleted from the root and the session. Okay, so far so good. But I still need to figure out what happens if I save changes and try to re-edit it, because that's usually what's causing the issue. And it's still trying to assign multiple drivers to the same train. Now here is the texture I use for the orange paint scheme for the bright line bullet train. Now what I'm trying to figure out is how is the game changing the texture from one train to another? Like, how does that even work? It could be that the textures have the exact same name, but so do the textures that I use to paint the front and the roof of the locomotives, and it's not doing that for those, it's only for the sides, so I don't know how that could possibly work. Plus, I've had other trains that I've made that had textures with similar names, and I've never had this issue before. Usually, I name the side of the texture either left, right, or sides. Pretty much all of my trains have textures with similar names, and I've never run into this issue, so I'm not sure what's going on. I'm gonna look at the logs to see if anything shows up whenever I try to give the trains their messages or run the session. So far I don't really notice anything unusual when the route loads, just pretty much the same messages that usually show up whenever I run a session or edit a session in Surveyor, that is. Okay, when I open this window, nothing shows up. So let's see if anything happens when I edit something in driver setup. Okay, no warnings or errors showed up when I tried to edit something in driver setup, so I'm still not sure what's going on. I thought the logs would paint a picture of what's going on, but unfortunately they didn't provide any useful information for this. As you can see, it's still trying to assign a driver to this train twice, and then saying like an error occurred or something. It's highlighted in red as if you can't select it, so I'm not sure why it's doing that. That usually happens if a driver is assigned to a train that's been deleted from the map, but the train is on the map right now, so why is it saying that the train isn't there? And that it appears twice? I just don't get it. So far, I'm not finding anything related to driver setup, as far as I can tell anyway. Okay, the game clearly knows that this is the orange locomotive, so I don't know why it would change the texture when clicked on, and only in driver, because as you can see, I clicked on it in Surveyor, and it's still the orange locomotive. Though strangely enough, the activity says that it has 2 drivers assigned to it. Here are some error messages that show up when I load it in Surveyor. None of these are related to the driver though. They're just animation files failing to load. It still says that it's the orange locomotive. When I went in the cab of the rear power car and then exited out of it, it changed the texture on that one as well, but it did not do that when I went inside the passenger car and came back out. So this error only exists on the power cars. Despite having 2 drivers assigned to it, this locomotive apparently does not have a driver. Well, that's basically the issue that I'm having, and I'm hoping it gets solved eventually. Hopefully soon.